Welcome to Animal Motion. This is on Google Classroom. If you go into the Animal Motion, which I've moved up to the very top of the page, and scroll down to the bottom where all of the animals are, you'll see it at the very bottom of the page. It says Animal Motion step by step, and if you click on it, it will open up, and this is what you have. So basically that's what I'm working from right here. So the first step is to go onto Google Classroom and download the animal of your choice. And I say don't drag it to your desktop. This will cause the animal to lose resolution. So we're going to do that right now, step one. So step one, I'm going to find the animal that I want, which will be, I'll use the Muybridge, the baboon. So I wait for it to load. As soon as it loads, I go up here to download, click download, and what should happen, it'll open a new page, and then you'll see that little pop-up. What you want to do is go to step two once you've downloaded, which is go to the Finder. And the way that you do that, you go down here, that's the Finder, and you open the Finder. Okay, and then you do the next step, which is go to Downloads, which is right here, and look for your animal. Drag and drop into Photoshop icon at the bottom of the screen. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I take it, drag it, find the Photoshop, and drag it into there. What that will do is that will open your animal as you see in the right size in Photoshop. Once your animal is open, go to the rectangle marquee tool and closely select the first frame. Click off. All right, so now I'm going to select. This is pretty much what you want, is you want to be pretty close on your animal. So I've done that. Hit Command-C, copy on your keyboard to copy. So I'm going to do that now, which is also up here. And you can see right here it says Command-C. So I do Command-C. The next thing is go to File, Open New Document. All right, so I'm going to go to File, Open New Document. And then go back to read what this says, because this says not to change. Let me move this out of the way. Says do not change anything but the name of the document. So do not change the size or resolution. So you don't want to change any of this. Okay, you can change it to, and we'll go back here to see what the next step is. So what that does is it opens the new document in the size of the frame that you just selected. So we're on step 7. Once the new doc is open, paste the selection into the new doc, Command V or Edit Paste. Right, so that's where we are right now. So I can go to Edit Paste, and you can see right here that's the shortcut Command V. And what it does is it automatically pastes your animal, this one that you have selected, into this new size document. So that's perfect. We're up to step number 7. Step number 8, go back to the document with all the animals. Using the arrow keys on your keyboard, move the rectangle to the next animal. Basically what this means is you go back here. You don't want to reselect or touch anything. What you want to do is use the arrow keys on your keyboard, or the other thing that you can do is, if you look at the cursor, see how the cursor is crosshairs? When I put the cursor in the center of the square and it changes to the white cursor, you can actually click and drag this over. I would hold down the shift so it stays at the same level. When you hold down the shift, what that does is it freezes whatever selection you have so it doesn't move up or down. But if by chance you accidentally click off it like that, because you need the exact same size, then go to your history window and go back to the nudge. Just, scroll up. You don't need to trash anything. Just click on that. All right, so now we're going to go to the next part, which is continue until you have copied every animal in order of its sequence. So basically what that means is now that I have the second elephant selected, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go copy again. I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to paste. So you can see my animal is now almost walking, right? So then I go back to here. Let's make my screen a little bit smaller so you can see what I'm doing. So now I'm going to move this, holding down the shift to the next animal. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to paste. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to move this over to the next animal. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to move this to the next animal. I'm holding down the shift after I grab it. Copy. Paste. Go back over here. I'm going to move it to the next animal. I'm going to copy, move over here. I'm going to paste. As you can see, it's numbering everything, which is the last thing that I say on number 9, that continue until you've copied every animal in order of a sequence. If you do this in order, Photoshop will automatically number your sequence for you, which that's what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to minimize my animal a little bit because now I need to move it down over here. So we are at number 10. Once all the animals are, well, let's just imagine that all of the animals are copied over, okay? So once all of the animals are copied over, I would do it in sequence that you copy the animals before you start, before you move on to step 10. Once all the animals are copied into one PSD, which this is one PSD, all that means is one Photoshop document. Your next step is to mask out each individual layer. Do this any way you like, although I suggest you use the quick selection tool to select your animal. This is the quick selection tool, which if you have your tools, just so you know, the tools can go in one line, or you can click up here, and that changes it from one line to 2 lines. This is the quick selection tool. If you don't see the quick selection tool, it may be living under the magic wand tool because they share the same spot. And I did kind of skip a little step in here. What you want to do is I would turn off all the animals that you're not working on, and you can easily do that by just clicking and dragging your hand all the way down, and that turns everything off. And then what you can do is just turn the one on that you're working on. Make sure you're selected on that layer, and make sure that this is at about 3. Then what you want to do is start selecting your animal. So I'm getting most of him, as you can see. And if you can't see very well, then by all means zoom in. I'm a big believer in zooming as close as you need to. If you select too much, go over here to the minus. It's actually better to do this at this stage than once you've done the masking tool. But I'll show you what you can do once you've done the masking tool. Okay, so the next part, okay, that's really strange that it's not masking. There we go. Okay, you won't have that trouble. I'm not exactly sure why that happened. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the next thing. So you can see that there's a few little things to clean up here. What you want to do is when you're in the mask tool, you can go back and forth here. You want to be on the mask, which is this one. The mask is the little black and white thing. And then the way that you're cleaning it up is with these 2 things here, the black and white and the brush tool. So when you have the black on, you can erase, right? When you have the white on, it brings back. That is the beauty of the mask tool, is that if you accidentally make a mistake while you're masking, like let's say I'm on the black part and oops, my cursor slips. I don't need to go back in history. What I can do is just flip these, and then I can totally bring it back. And then if I went over a little bit, which I did, I can see there's a little spot there. I just flip back to the white and I get rid of it. So I'm just going to clean this up because I see there's little spots here under his feet that don't belong here. So I'm going to clean this up. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. If you want to check your work to see how much you've cleaned up, one of the little tricks that you can do is you can add a layer. And what I would do with this layer is I would drag it all the way down. I would actually drag it down to the very bottom of the under one. And I would make it like a really bright color. I would make it a very bright color, and I would paint bucket. So this way, so I can already see that I've done some interesting things here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back on the mask tool, go back to my brush tool. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to get rid of these few little doodads. If you do this, just make sure that I also don't want that there. Make sure once you save this, you want to get rid of that background, although you can delete it once you're in Premiere. Okay, so I've done that one. Now I'm going to do this one. So I turn it on, right? Want to make sure that I'm in black and white mode. And then I'm going to use my quick selection tool again. So I'm going to get as much of this elephant as I can. Right, so I'm just going to show you again how to mask. Again, you're using the quick selection masking tool. And if you get too much, like I've gotten too much here, I'm going to go onto the minus. I'm going to minus some stuff out. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't need that. And then I'm going to add a few things. So I need to add this part of his body. And I think I'll add some of his tail, which I added too much, so I'm going to minus. And I'll clean that up later. So now what I'm going to do is do another mask. So I can see all the things I need to clean up. So I'm going to click on the mask, make sure that I go onto my brush tool. Oops. And I'm going to get rid of this line. I'm going to get rid of these things. I'm going to clean up his tail. His tail I'm going to have to be pretty zoomed in to clean up. But I can get most of it, and I'll just have to make my brush kind of small. The main thing is that you don't want like things like this because it'll show up in your animation. Okay, so let's go back to this to see where we are. So basically we've gone through 12. If you need to clean up the background using the brush tool, which I showed you, using the brush tool, flipping between foreground and background color, that's this right here. Once you've masked all the layers, create a new folder and call it Animal Motion or whatever works for you. Save this as a PSD to preserve all the layers that you've created. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off of Photoshop by clicking on my desktop, and then you know that you're where you are by if you click on anything you click on will open up that program. So that's Preview. This is Photoshop. Clicking on the desktop automatically opens Finder, so I can say New Folder. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Finder, find that new folder, which is on my desktop. It's called Untitled Folder. I'm going to click it so I can name it. So I'm going to call this Animal Motion Step by Step. All right, so I have that now. Now I'm going to go back to the folder that I had created. I'm going to just save, don't do a save as. And I called this Miss G Animal Motion. So if you notice, when this opened up, it was already in Documents. So what I want to do is go to Desktop, which is where I made my folder. And then here's my folder, and then I want to go save into the folder. You want to say OK for that, and that part is done.